Welcome to the Hall Space Podcast. It's about connections. I'm your host, Dr. Ritch Hall, and this is a weekly conversation about whatever and however I see to connect things. For people who want to connect, chat, and learn a thing or two about a thing or two. Without further ado, let's start the show. Hello.
Welcome.
Welcome back to the Hall Space Podcast. My name is Dr. Ritch Hall. I'm your host for the afternoon. And this, my lovely co-pilot, lovely and capable,
Nicole Hall. Hey there.
Hey, everybody. So, I know we said last episode was probably the last episode, but we realized we had a little bit of time to do another last episode.
The last of 2020.
Last episode of 2020.
That's crazy to think about.
It is.
Yeah.
It truly is.
Because next Sunday, it will be 2021.
Yes. Next week, it will be 2021 officially. Yeah. And we love our delineations as a species.
We do.
So, that end of the year thing actually means something to us as creatures.
It does.
So there's this belief that things will change in some way. We wouldn't have created a calendar if we hadn't believed.
Listen, we need to be able to track
being
stuff.
Being able to track time meant something.
2021 is going to be a
lot of people are putting hopes and dreams. You just did it. Putting hopes and dreams
year
on 2021 as if
our lips to God's ears.
Things are going to change. And I don't want to be a cynic or anything.
2020 was a dumpster fire. Okay.
2020 was a very difficult year.
It was very tough.
And so many people came into it so optimistic.
Some people came into it and didn't come out of it.
Well, there's quite a few people that came into it
that
come out of it.
That did not come out of it.
Yeah,
We've had
tragically a number of deaths.
A lot of loss. Yes,
a number of deaths. I was Googling it right before we started the podcast,
doing some research there.
There were 207 celebrity deaths identified by Us Weekly.
Wow.
Some of them I didn't know everybody.
Yeah, I mean, we watch those reward shows, and they're like, "Here's all the people that passed."
Yeah.
And you recognize like 5 of them, but
but this one I recognized quite a few of them.
Like, if you gave it a percentage, what would you say you recognized?
There were at least 16 that I wrote down and was like, "Oh yeah,
oh wow,
yeah."
And
out of 207, that's not a lot, but it still
that's
feels
still
like
a lot more than
significant number. And
any other year,
and
right?
the weight of these people who passed away.
I was gonna say, what was the biggest one for you?
Biggest one, Chadwick Boseman.
Definitely.
We did a whole episode about him, and
we did.
Definitely, in a very short time,
and it was fast.
Mm-hmm. And he, for a very short career, made a very lasting impression.
Big impact. He did. And he still makes an impact.
Yeah. And Kobe Bryant was probably the one that affected most of my friends and people that I know.
That was so tragic and sad.
Yeah. And
I him and his daughter both passed.
Yes. As a father,
crash.
That kills me.
Yeah. Because you can imagine you're in the helicopter with your kid.
It's going down.
And you can't do anything about it.
Yeah. No, I can't.
It's devastating.
Yeah. No, that chokes me up just to think about.
I know, right? It's just...
Sean Connery, big one. I was James Bond passed away. One of those people who'd been out of the public eye for quite a while as he was aging.
But he's always been James Bond to us, though.
James Bond. He's in a variety of other films and whatnot.
He's had
Highlander.
A lot of cameos and things like that. And he's in Highlander?
He was in the first Highlander and the second Highlander, of which we do not speak. But
which we do not speak.
Yeah, he was in the Highlander films. So he should have been immortal, but there could be only one.
I know.
So
Alex Trebek.
I
figured he was on your list.
On the list.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
He fought their good fight for a long time.
He did.
I was really sad when he said he had pancreatic cancer, and they're like, "No, he's going to be fine." And I'm like, "Yes,
he's going to be on the show."
Yay!
Yeah, and then finally,
a couple months later,
death caught up with him. Naya Rivera from Glee. Remember, lost tragically in that.
That was so tragic too. And you know what?
Boating, swimming accident.
On everything, she
was with her kid.
She was with her son, and honestly, on everything, she just drowned. Okay.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, she had stuff in her system, stuff that she was always taking. Okay. On a regular daily basis.
Well,
she wasn't.
You of all people know.
Yeah.
When someone dies, people ask a lot of questions.
They do. And they're like, oh, was she drunk? Was she high? Was she was with her son and she drowned.
A lot of speculation.
They flipped over. She put her son back in the boat and she saved him, but she couldn't save herself.
Yeah.
And that's one of those epic sort of parental moments, those mommy daddy moments,
she had the strength
where
to save herself,
she had enough to save her son, but not enough to save herself, which I think a lot of us would do in that situation.
And we also forget how, we're surrounded by water all the time. Human beings think that they've mastered so much of the earth,
and it's not true.
The world, and people drown all the time.
People drown all the time, and honestly, it was something that her and her son did often together, so it wasn't abnormal.
Yeah.
And it took them a while to find her.
It took several days, like 4 to 5 days.
God rest her soul, but that was definitely, she did what mothers do. She saved her son. And
Regis Philbin passed away this year.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
There was a whole. No, there was a Casey Kasem. That was a whole thing about that. But yeah, Regis Philbin passed.
Yeah. Tiny Lister, that was a recent one.
That I didn't realize that was recent.
That was recent. That just happened a couple weeks ago.
Okay, so Green Mile, we were watching.
Not Green Mile. That's a different guy. Tiny Lister is Debo from Friday.
Debo, I'm
look
sorry.
Look at you. Do you think those two black guys look alike?
I'm sorry.
Wow, Nicole. Wow.
That's racist.
Wow. I didn't know.
No, I thought the guy in Green Mile, that was his name was Tiny Lister.
No, that was not his name.
Okay.
And now that we're talking about it, I don't remember his name, but different guy.
You know it is a different guy, but you don't know his name.
I know it's a completely different guy.
You don't know his name?
To know it's a different black man.
Yeah,
wow.
no. Okay.
Wow. I didn't know. Do you think we all look alike? Is that what you think?
I have black friends. I don't know. No, I mean, Debo is best known for Friday. And still in that poor boy's bike.
Yeah, it's like it's both ours. We'll just keep it in your house.
It's like it's both ours.
We'll just keep it in my house. Dad tripping, man.
The dad rose up with the son and he was like, you want some of this, old man? He says, nope.
Because he don't want none.
Yeah. No, God rest his soul. That was
Natalie I'm going to get it wrong. Natalie Reed was her name, but the black girl from Baps.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was recent.
That was
That was tragic. She wasn't even that old.
She wasn't that old. She was sick. She got diagnosed early this year.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what she got diagnosed with, but whatever it was, it took her very fast.
Yeah.
So she was in hospice and, she kind of got diagnosed in February or something like that. And then she was just gone months later, which is always so tough,
Yeah.
It's all tough though. I mean, we watched.
I forgot she had been in the Eve television show.
That's right.
I forgot that Eve had a television show.
Right. Eve had her own show. It was called.
Right.
Well, it was called Eve, but her name was something else in the show.
Her name was not Eve on the show.
Her name was not Eve on the show, and I remember that was the dumbest thing. But yeah, what else? But yeah, she was always funny, and she was in How to Be a Player. That's what I remember. She also got
colon cancer, so her and
colon cancer. That's what it
Chadwick,
was.
both
Yeah,
colon cancer.
Yeah.
Go get your colon checked.
Go
those
get
of you
your
above the age of 35.
Check. My aunt and uncle were talking about getting your colon cleansed. There's a place within the city that you can go to, and it'll flush out all the toxins and stuffs. And they had some jokes about how the next 2 days after that is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Not the most comfortable procedure, but it'll save your life.
It will.
David Prowse, who played Darth Vader, passed away. The actor in the Darth Vader costume.
The guy in the costume. Okay.
Wilford Brimley died this year. Diabetes himself.
Who's that?
Wilford Brimley, diabetes.
The oatmeal guy, the crotchety old guy?
Yeah. Actor, old actor.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Passed away. Malik B of The Roots passed away.
Oh yeah, that was a whole thing.
Yeah, that was a whole thing.
We
that spun out to the Jaguar.
The Jaguar, right?
Erykah Badu and all that got swept up in that.
Oh my gosh, that was a whole thing.
Jaguar Wright went ham on everybody.
She went super ham. She did.
She really processed her grief.
On the YouTubes.
Out loud on the YouTubes.
Out loud, yeah.
Carl Reiner, actor, comedian, director, also the old guy from the Ocean's 11, 12 13 movies.
That's right. I saw that. I saw that. You thought he was going to die on the movie, and he actually lived longer. And
Yeah. Andre Harrell died this year, unfortunately.
he was still pretty young.
He was still not that old.
He wasn't that old. No.
Little Richard died this year.
I can't believe that was this year.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. Right?
That feels weird.
It's only this year.
Yeah.
Kenny Rogers.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Kenny Rogers passed.
Yeah.
And then Ruth Bader Ginsburg, among the ones that were notable to me that stood out when I was reading that list of 207 people.
We have been saying for a number of years, protect her at all costs, man.
Right.
Because they're going to replace her with some Yahoo.
And they did. They totally rammed her through.
Exactly what they did.
In a super spreader event. One of the things I did say I did want to do for this episode, and didn't say it at the top, this is our year in review episode. So we're talking about a lot of the things that happened this year and our thoughts on them. I'm not going to talk at length about the president.
The election,
who's only 30 days away from losing his job.
Yeah.
So
get your bags and
I'm
go.
going to just go ahead and not mention that guy's name. Maybe ever again.
Because we may not have to, okay? Just go on and do another version of The Apprentice and shut up. Okay?
And if the world ends on January 1st, 2021, no one will ever speak his name again. But
that's true.
It would be his fault.
We'll be in heaven, so it'll be fine.
So I'll try to get through this episode without saying his name. Don't want to say COVID again in this episode as much as I can.
Yeah, we would like
refer to it as things went bad. I'll speak vaguely about it.
So there are things that, in the infamous words of Will Smith, we want to put it in a box,
and put that
box in the ocean. And COVID and Trump are included in that. I would also like to mention, I know we said it in multiple episodes, but I lost my grandfather this year.
Yeah.
He passed in February.
Yeah.
Almost 2 years.
So it started off as a big year for us.
It did.
But it was like a big up and a down. It was my grandmother's
big,
90th birthday.
We had an awesome time at her 90th.
That was the end of January.
That was at the end of January because her birthday is to January 30th.
And then came back within a week. And grandfather had passed.
And then 2 weeks later, my grandfather passed away. Almost 2 years to the date that my grandmother passed away.
Yes.
And he went pretty fast. He was very sick. And my aunt was telling me the other day kind of how it happened. And she said she took him to the hospital, and she said she knew. And they said, okay, well, we're going to send him home with some oxygen and stuff like that, but get your affairs in order, basically. And so, his kidneys were failing and all this other kind of stuff. So it was kind of, the thing for us and for most of us in our family was that he got to be home, and so did my grandmother. So they didn't have to, we didn't put them in homes or hospice or anything like that. And they didn't need, my aunt's a nurse, they didn't need any additional aids to help with the pain or anything like that. So they kind of passed pretty peacefully. So that was a big thing. And so my grandfather passed in February, and then bad things happened after that.
Then the world went.
Then the world went
to crap in March. And it's so hard to think back to nobody saw what we are currently
any of this coming. Yeah.
We were all hearing about this thing called COVID. Coming, and it was possible, and it was happening in Wuhan.
Right.
January, February, it's kind of saying it's happening out there in the world.
And honestly, on the onset, it was kind of like, oh yeah, I mean, we were talking about SARS and all these other kind of viruses, and there was a mosquito thing in Florida, like you get bit by a mosquito and you get really sick. There were all these other kinds of illnesses or viruses that we would see spread, but
that
not
never got
nearly
that bad.
as effective.
There would always be something that slowed it down, and then March came, and they started shutting the world down.
They shut the entire world down,
and we were left trying to sort of figure out how do you survive in a world where there's no more toilet paper and all the bread's gone and people are hoarding pasta.
Y'all fooling, okay?
Yeah. And the supply chain has been broken, and mail is broken, and we have yet to recover from
and all
those series of events.
And
what's funny is, before the show, I was looking up events from 2020. It is very hard to look at a 2020 year in review that does not mention,
that doesn't involve the COVID
and what it did to the world. And COVID and Trump, those are the two things that
those are the two things we're like,
has been about. And what's interesting is how that colors the other events. In other years where they are less tragic and whole-scale, global scale events happening, you'll find a lot more like trivial things that, this year,
you could lose 20 pounds.
This happened.
Oh yeah, Beyonce's blonde now. This silly
Remember
stuff.
how big it was when Kanye jumped up on the stage at the Video Music Awards?
We thought that was big stuff.
That was big stuff.
At the time, in comparison, it was.
But now if you look up the list, it's like Australian wildfires happened.
Right.
Murder hornets.
Right. Italy shut down.
Right. Iran. Tensions with Iran. Right. It's like real.
We almost had a big fight
protests.
with China. They tried to shut down TikTok.
Yep. Like literally all the lists are like just genuinely any one horrible thing that would have been the big thing of that year. Like Harvey Weinstein would have been the big story of the year.
It would have been. He had a whole island apparently.
No. You're thinking of the other guy. Harvey Weinstein was I'm gonna blank out on. Harvey Weinstein was movies. He was a movie exec.
Okay.
The other guy.
Jeffrey Epstein.
I'm
sorry, Epstein had the island.
Weinstein,
You're right.
Different Steins.
They're all the worst.
Yeah. George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and a variety of other black people murdered.
There were a number of...
led to the Black Lives Matter summer.
Yes,
protests.
It did.
It totally happened.
But I would venture to say that every year there are a number of...
Every year there are many dying. This year led to a specific... groundswell of support because people had less to focus on.
There were definitely a lot of grassroots things that sprung up because we're home, because we're quarantined and things like that, and
so people kind of had to pay attention to.
They did.
Didn't have to, but they chose to.
They chose to, and they chose to be brave and go out to the streets
and protest, and led to quite a bit of change.
Absolutely.
What's interesting is like so much in Hollywood is actually different now, as far as like. The Simpsons changed. The guy who does Carl's voice.
A number of
a lot of people lost acting jobs.
A lot of people who were playing the role of a black person, but they were a white person. They were because honestly,
ceremonial victories. Streets names getting changed.
Street names are
down on streets.
They are.
We have yet to see the permanence of those changes.
I mean, these are the very quick sort of. Even my white coworker said. Even I work for a large company. I won't say who it is, but they have, their intranet site, and they always have like, all of our workers, they do community stuff or, all that kind of advertising of what we do as a company, basically.
Yeah.
And he noticed that there were more minorities.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, you see less of you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I see you all the time.
Right.
Now, I don't begrudge any of that type of activity, right? Mm-hmm. Show more of us. I want my kids to know that we exist in all of these different places, right? And that we can go and be anything and be anywhere. But I also want to see my daughter get paid the same as your son, right? I also want to see that, if my son gets pulled over for something, he's treated like your son. Right. Mm-hmm. There are a number of things as far as equality and being humanized that I need and that we want to see. And that's what we're fighting for in the streets. Right. To happen. Right. I mean, it's fine. Put more black people on the website. That's cool. But are you going to when you look at minorities, are you going to actively see them as an option?
Right. Right.
That's a big deal.
Are they fully human and fully realized in your mind?
Yeah. It's a big deal.
It's very hard to look up lists of 2020, and maybe all of them haven't come out. Maybe some of them are still waiting. Maybe they're still being drafted, but a lot of them.
You only have a couple more days left, which is interesting.
And a lot of them have, a lot of bad, dark lists.
Yeah.
Which was interesting for a person like me who doesn't normally pay nearly as much attention to that. I wouldn't have said, wildfires happened on the West Coast.
No, the Australian wildfires was a big thing.
Australian wildfires and the West Coast wildfires.
Yeah.
The sky was red.
The sky was red.
That's a nice, and very biblical.
It was crazy because you know what? There were a lot of women in our outdoor group. We have an outdoor group, Black women on Facebook, who decorate their outdoor spaces, and they showed pictures of what the sky looked like in their neighborhood, and it was just you know, if you imagine what hell looks like with the dark skies and the red and the fire, like it was crazy, you know. California just be on fire, but
California be on fire.
It does.
It was on fire.
So I mean, it's definitely a different year than any other year.
Definitely.
I'm going to bring this up. There is a guy that does a song every year. He does a rap every year about everything that's happened.
Oh, are you talking about Skills?
Yes.
Yeah, he does the wrap up.
Yeah.
Wrap up.
And that I feel like, you know, when you talk about how everything is sort of dark this year, it's like, if he does a song this year, what is it going to sound like?
Yeah, it's interesting. That's a good question. I always look forward to them. I usually download them.
Yeah, because they're always kind of fun, and you're like, oh yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was cool. Oh, that was. I mean,
it's usually like a good review of it. It's all the things that happen.
It is.
I remember that,
especially in African American culture. It's like, oh yeah, that was those Nikes did come out, or everybody was going crazy over the PS5, right?
Yeah.
That was
all the dances on TikTok. Everybody doing TikTok dances.
Totally
was a big thing this year.
Right.
And so it's a good, nostalgic review of things that you might have forgotten.
Over
and
a
in many
nice
ways,
beat.
That's kind of what this show is today. It's us doing the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, though, with all of the bad that has happened, there have been a number of things that are good that we can thank God for.
Absolutely.
I got to work in my jammies this year. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I drink a lot of wine.
He is Dr. Judgenstein right now. Okay.
No, I'm just saying. No, I could see you seeing that as a silver lining.
It is definitely a silver lining.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
I wasn't judging you. I'm just saying.
You were judging me.
You got to work in your jammies.
Working my jammies and drink a lot of.
Because where are you going?
Because where am I going?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the downside is I'm bigger than I was, but
Gained your COVID-19 plus.
Plus. Absolutely. But I mean, the kids are good.
Yeah.
The
kids are relatively healthy and they're fine for what they are.
They're fine for what they are.
Terminally unhappy or anything.
No, I mean, because honestly, in any other year, they would still be coming to us like, I'm bored.
Yeah.
Bored in a house, bored.
Yeah. They definitely would. But they're enjoying some of the squabbles happen.
Yeah.
Nothing feels completely abnormal in any way.
No, I mean a lot of that's just proximity, but they would have that same proximity anyway.
It's just being stuck with each other and no outlets. Like I think in the very beginning that was tough on them, but now they've kind of settled into.
They've adjusted to it.
Yeah, and they play with other kids via Roblox, which ups and downs of that. But
I mean, but we have enough activities with our COVID circle, as I call it, that they get to see the twins, they get to hang out at Gammy's. We do a number of things that really try to keep them engaged,
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's good for us.
Yeah.
As good as it could be considering the circumstances,
Yes.
I think all of us are fatigued. I think all of us would love to be on the beach.
Oh, absolutely.
And have some...
Or just out the house, just doing things.
Yeah.
Just able to go anywhere.
Yeah.
I went to Sam's today and I literally started walking towards the door and I was like, what's wrong? You're not wearing a mask, man. I had to go all the way back to the car. And I was like, how did I even forget?
Yeah. There's so many of those TikToks or memes where it's like, I forgot my mask in the car.
I actually hadn't been to a store in 4 or 5 days. So it was the first time I'd gotten out the car to go somewhere that wasn't
right.
my mother's house. So...
That was funny because my aunt and uncle came over the other day and they had their mask on and my aunt's talking to me through the mask. She's like, oh my God, what am I wearing this mask for? You're in our circle.
It's smart. Somebody said in a meme that asking, can I take my mask off is essentially the 2020 version of, can I wear my shoes in your house?
Yeah.
I mean, there's etiquette around whether or not you are able to engage in this behavior. Will you find it acceptable if I break this particular social norm at this moment?
I feel like there was
are times yes and there are times no.
There's times no. I don't know if you remember this, but I was in Inroads and the president of Inroads, the local chapter, Cincinnati, Dayton, Northern Kentucky, had a party at his house and we were invited. And it was a very nice house. And when we walked in, the first thing that they said was, take your shoes off and here's a pair of socks. Do you remember that?
Did I went to that?
Yeah.
No.
Because we go and they had a basket full of really nice, the small socks, like the footy socks. Yeah. Footy socks, take your shoes off, put the footy socks on. We weren't there for very long because it was like this.
Interesting happened. It was hoity-toity.
No, it's very hoity-toity. It was like the obligatory. It's like all of your grad student, Steve parties.
Yeah.
And this was my inroads, and this was before we graduated. Yeah. So this is undergrad.
Oh my God.
But yeah.
I don't have a single pin memory from that. Like
because the only thing that was interesting that happened was that we had to take our shoes off and put on socks.
Yeah, I remember quite a few of your inroads excursions, but I don't remember that one.
There were a lot of excursions where Richie Vom would come. He would.
Did I already tell the story of me being Nicole?
I don't think you told the story.
I don't know. I feel like I may have told the story in one of these, but I used to go around saying I was Nicole.
He would take my badge.
I'd take her badge.
He would take my inroads badge.
To go get a free lunch.
And he would go get a free lunch. So here's what would happen. We would have these inroads conferences in multiple cities every summer. And we would, be housed. Most of the time is at a university or like a conference center or whatever.
Yeah.
And we would have a hotel nearby. And Richie would show up. He would bring Lewis sometimes.
No, I only brought Lewis that one time. We went to a concert.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Well, I can't even remember what the concert was. Is that Up in Smoke?
I think that was Up in Smoke.
Nice. Yes.
There's Method and Red and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up in Smoke was Dre, right?
Dre, yes.
Yes, that was Dre and Eminem.
That's right. That was
West Coast, all West Coast rappers.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Dub C and all them. Yeah. That was
back when you could.
Did you not go to that?
No, I went.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I went. I just
feel so weird that I
had to get up in the morning and go to class or go to breakfast,
that was in
and then
dorm,
the conference
because we were sleeping in the dorm room.
We were at Columbus.
Was that
Ohio University or Ohio State?
Yeah.
Ohio State.
No, University's Athens. I'm in the college game, so I know.
Yeah. Right.
So back in the inroad days, I would definitely.
Yeah, every summer we had a place, a conference to go to, and it would be.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'd be somewhere cool.
And she didn't always want the lunch.
No.
But I was like, it's a free lunch. Like, I'm going to go get that free sandwich.
I'm Nicole.
I would go down and be Nicole Slaughter.
Yeah. Go get the lunch.
I remember once I got stuck in an elevator with a lady who was asking all these questions, and I didn't have the right answers for her, and she was really grilling me.
Well, because it's, when you're in inroads, it's like, what company are you interning at? What's your major in school? What's your, and there are only so many specific majors that is accepted into the program. So for people who don't know what Inroads is it is a company that helps minority students sort of get prepared for the workplace. So essentially resume writing, interviewing skills, and then you interview with real Fortune 500 companies, and you get interviewed, and sometimes you get the job and sometimes you don't. But there are a plethora of companies that have invested into Inroads, and they say, yes, we will take an intern, we will pay them, and we will have them for 10 weeks. And so you have like sort of a midterm where you get evaluated, and you have sort of an end of the summer where they say, yeah, no, they did great. And so I interviewed with a company, and they would tell you how many interns they could take, and they could only take one. And so they took me, and I stayed through my entire college experience. And then they hired me when I graduated.
Bank?
Yeah, Provident Bank, which turned into
which no longer exists.
Does not exist.
Back then it was a big bank.
It was.
Employed a lot of people,
especially in the city. Yeah. So they invested in interns, and they do. Even now as a company, they invest in interns as well. So
the bank they bought. What was formerly Provident Bank.
Yes.
And then became another bank. It became now a different bank.
Yes. So National City bought it, and then it's
that's right, National City, and then it folded.
That's right.
Or got bought, and then
Yep.
That's what often happens with the banks. They they buy them out. They buy a lot of consolidation. And so I was stuck in the elevator with this lady, and she's asking me all these questions, and I got Nicole's badge, and at the time I did
talking
work
about you,
at Fifth
Nicole.
Third. And all I wanted to do was get downstairs, get a lunch, get back in the elevator, go back upstairs to the room and eat this lunch with my girlfriend. But this black lady has to talk to me. And she's like, what? And she's like, asking me where I work. And I worked at Fifth Third. So I'm like, BSing.
You could have said Fifth Third.
I did say Fifth Third.
You did? Okay. Yeah.
And I was like, I work in the research department, which I did.
Yeah.
And she was like, but like, what is your field? And I'm like, oh crap. Like,
I can't say psychology, but yeah.
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 I mean, so
you could
I think I said computer programming. And she's like, well, why aren't you doing like programming work? And I was like, it's just the job they gave me. Ma'am, I'm just trying to get this lunch and get back to the room.
I just want my ham sandwich and chocolate chip cookie.
And bag of Lay's. That's all I want. Why are you asking so many questions? I'm going to take this Mountain Dew in the can that's been left chilled on a tabletop and walk upstairs.
And I'm going to go.
Why do you feel the need to keep talking to me?
I'm going to snuggle with my girlfriend.
Right.
Yes.
And she was asking all of the questions. And she kind of knew, like, my answers, they just sucked. And so I could tell she was, like, finding me out. But also I'm like, why?
But, honestly.
Do you need to know who I am like that?
Depending on who they were, right? Mm-hmm. They have, like, professionals like us, right?
Yeah.
We come in and teach specific classes. So we don't know. You know what I mean? And so she was probably someone that was doing a class and had no idea. Yep. Now, you get the managing director or the assistant managing director, then you're in trouble because they're like, I don't know you. And they know all their people.
They know
all of us because they mentor all of us.
She may have been one of the people who knew all the people and knew I didn't. No, what are you doing here?
Not that year, no.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't. Yeah.
I just know she kept asking me questions.
Yeah.
And she was grilling me. And
like, free lunch.
And I'm like, I did not intend to answer. I did not know there would be math.
Well,
I just wanted to get my lunch and get out of here. And
the interesting thing was you never wanted to be a part of Inroads.
Yeah, so that's not true. I applied to Inroads 3 times. I interviewed for Inroads 3 times. But all I wanted to be was a psychologist, and they didn't have any openings for psychologists. They didn't have any
openings for that.
I would get all dolled up, put on a dress shirt and a tie, and ride the bus
you have
downtown.
To interview to be into it.
Interview to be in Inroads.
Yeah, you had to go downtown to their office.
I would do relatively great in the interview.
Yeah,
but I would talk about psychology, which was my true passion at the time.
Right.
And so a lot of times back then, they put a lot of money into minorities in STEM.
Yes.
And so I do feel like I've talked about this on the show before. There wouldn't be a lot for me to do for a smart kid like me.
Right. You're a smart kid in a field that they're not. Right. You're outside of STEM. You could have done STEM.
And so teachers would put me into things like they put me into BEST and the US First. And
right. Which are all the things that,
great for minorities to get.
Which is why they said interview for Inroads, because you were great in all of those other
I was well spoken. I was well read.
And they look for black
clear,
men in these,
articulate.
Young
man, and I had genuinely zero. I didn't want to go into banking or any of those lucrative, fresh out of college careers where I could have made hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, I don't want to do that. I'm an artist.
So they really only had a handful. It was like accounting, financing, computer science,
and so I went into my interview and talked about comic books and
psychology, and they're like, ugh.
And what's funny is the pitch that I made at that point was one of the pitches that got me my actual internship in graduate school. Because I've over the years I perfected my pitch of one of the reasons I like psychology is because you get to learn stories, and I'm a fan of stories.
Yeah.
And so one of the reasons I think I'm good at this is I like human stories, and I've always liked comic books.
Right.
And I've always wanted to be a psychologist.
Right.
And one of the parallels between those is every person has an intricate unfolding backstory.
Yeah.
That once you learn it, you can learn who they are and help them be better and see them evolve and grow.
Yeah.
And that was my autobiographical essay for both my psychology into the graduate program and my internship.
Your internship,
interview.
No, because you're really good
graphical essay
at what you do.
Yeah, in part because I love stories and I love the stories of people, and so I remember details about. I don't remember names, but I do remember your story from somewhere.
Right.
And so if you tell me a detail about yourself, I will
remember who you are based on that
story.
Detail. Yeah.
And if I can slot it into, this is why you are who you are.
Yeah.
Even better.
Yeah.
And I get genuinely fascinated to learn aspects of people of the why of people. Like, well, oh, you're this way because?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Didn't know your dad. All right, that explains a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, you once had a injury when you were 15.
And now that you're attributing all your pain to it.
And that's why you're afraid of the water, huh? That's why you got like that when we suggested going swimming. Interesting.
So I'm interested in that same stuff in a very passive manner, right?
Just in a curiosity sort of way.
A curiosity sort of way. Give me a bunch of shows about human behavior and why they murder people, and I'll
Always
watch
with
it.
the murder. Yeah.
I mean, that's.
Oh, I know. More than anyone ever will.
That's what I'm into.
No, for me, it's what I've always had a thing with humans of why are humans humaning in this particular way? So I've been watching a lot of Star Trek. I am very much a Vulcan.
Oh my God.
I have some very Vulcan tendencies.
You are.
Where it's like, what, this is illogic. Why are you humaning in this particular manner?
You're like a Spock for those who people don't know what a Vulcan is.
Yes, I could be very like watching Star Trek Discovery and listening to Spock talk to Burnham, and I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay, I get it.
It makes
I see how this
sense.
is logical for you, but it is not the logical choice.
It is illogical. It is a illogical human behavior. Why would you do this?
Yes, this is highly illogical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the girl that plays in the new Star Trek.
Michael Burnham. Yeah.
Is that her name?
That's her name on the show.
Yeah,
That's her name. Her name
beautiful.
is much more interesting in real life, but I've
because
forgotten it.
it's Michael.
Yeah, she's a girl named Michael.
She's a girl named Michael,
Yeah.
but she's absolutely beautiful, and she does a very great Vulcan sort of. And I don't watch the show the way Richie does. I used to watch Star Trek, but I don't anymore. But she does a very good job, and I guess Spock is her brother.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're spoiling stuff for people, but
Sonequa Martin Green is her real name.
Okay.
But she's a Vulcan. She's not Vulcan. She's actually human.
Okay.
Raised by Spock's family. So somehow they retroactively added a half sister to Spock's timeline.
Wow. Okay.
But also it could be like it's this weird Star Trek's this weird multiple timelines now.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what this timeline is called because they've done so much time travel stuff.
They've done so many things
but
with
it's actually
Star
very
Trek.
interesting. It's very much scientists save the day kind of show.
Yeah.
Which is why I like it. But anyway.
Scientists do save the day a lot of the time.
Ultimately, yes. I mean, come on. We are standing in a scientists are going to save the day with this vaccine situation.
A lot of people are taking the vaccine that we know personally.
We need a lot more scientists.
Yeah.
We're never going to make it to Star Trek if we don't get a lot more scientists.
Yo, if scientists get me to the beach, I'll kiss you on the mouth.
Scientists will get you to the beach. You'd kiss me on the mouth anyway.
I'll kiss you.
Or are you going to kiss the scientists on the mouth?
Oh.
See? Watch what you say. So,
my bad, dog.
Yeah, I've always had a logical problem with some things don't make sense to me. And humans definitely don't make sense, which is why I love psychology, because they help me to understand humans.
Well, it's very interesting because you are very sort of structured like a Vulcan, but you love to live in the gray.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So when it comes to all of the different ways that humans can react to things, there are so many different options in your head. And I'm like, nah, it's black or it's white. And you're like, no, it's gray.
No,
it's great.
It's a variety of things.
There are a multitude of, and I'm like, I don't care about the multitudes. I can only understand black or white.
Oh God, what was that? I was just talking about something to answer the question. Oh, I asked Alexa a question. Oh, how long can humans survive?
Oh yeah, and she gave a you answer.
She gave me back a me answer because Victoria asked me. My daughter walked up and was like, "How long can humans survive without eating?" She's like, "If I didn't eat and just drink water, would I live?" And I was like, "No, you'd eventually die." And she was like, "Well, I don't want to die." I was like, "Okay, then eat food and drink water."
Yeah, you
like,
say eat food and drink water. Yeah,
that's how you live.
Yeah.
And she was like, "But how long would I live?" And I was like, "I don't know. Hey, Alexa, how long could my daughter live? Can a human live without food?"
Without food,
And then Alexa's like, "Well, there are multiple studies. It depends on a variety of factors. So long as you were not dehydrated and have regular
the level, the
access
hydration
to water.
Oh my God!
So it is really hard to tell." And I'm like, "Alexa, just give me a number."
So and she goes through this whole spiel like depends on dehydration and where you are, blah blah blah.
I considered all these factors. I would appreciate a number.
Yeah, and when she's done giving her answer, which was not definitive at all,
not at all,
you're like, man, she gave me a me answer.
I had to appreciate.
Victoria was looking for a number. I too was looking for a number.
Yeah,
but I think it's very fascinating that Victoria was like, but so how long would I live though?
Yeah.
How long can someone live? Like, that's a interesting question for a 6-year-old to ask.
Right. But Victoria asks very interesting questions.
She does.
She's
very
curious.
smart and curious.
And I'm like, well, you know, it depends on a variety of factors. As long as you had access to water, you could actually live much longer, maybe even like weeks and months.
You could live longer on water than
depending on how, you know, how much fat you had in your body at the time. Like, you wouldn't really starve for quite some time.
Yeah.
You'd be uncomfortable within a matter of days.
See? Yeah. Even you didn't give a number.
I couldn't. I actually don't remember.
I'm gonna say a week.
No, it's actually way longer than a week if you had water.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Tops.
Longer than that.
But you won't give a number though. No, see, some of the murder shows that I like will be like, so you could survive in the Grand Canyon with only water for about 10 days. Boom. Thank you.
2 months. So according to a particular archive on healthline.com.
I was going to say you had to Google it.
I had to Google it.
Okay.
You can survive to 8 to 21 days without food and water, and up to 2 months if there's access to water.
Access to water will extend you, but you'll be so weak.
Yeah, you will be
after
very weak.
The first couple of weeks that you wouldn't be able to travel very far.
Stop eating and drinking. Most people, it's 10 days.
Okay. Which is wow. Yeah. So there's so many. I see so many stories where people get stuck in the Grand Canyon because of how large it is and things like that. And for the people that get access to water, they're okay for a number of days. And for the people that are not or didn't pack enough, or you know, there's always those people that go off the trail, like, oh no, I was on a trek with the group, and then I said I want to go over here. 30 days later, you know.
Yeah, that's always tragic. I always think of those tragic situations.
Yeah,
completely unnecessary.
They
curiosity
are.
Got you to a place.
I was going to say
hubris and curiosity.
Your curiosity says, "I would like to see what's going on over here." They're showing you something interesting over here. You've paid for this tour.
There's a reason they made a path.
They made a whole path.
And why would you get off
you
of that
said,
path?
"Nah, bruh.
Yeah.
I want to go through this unbeaten path." And I get that there are people in the world, they do the unbeaten path, and it really works for them. You know, but it's
there are certain places where you should not do that.
You could die,
and it'll end up bad for you.
You just have to know the risks, right?
It'll end up bad for you.
No.
So, all right, we're gonna go to commercial.
The first half,
First half of the Hall Space podcast.
2020 year in review.
The 2020 year in review. And we will go to commercial, and we will be right back.
See you soon.
So let me tell you about Anchor Podcast. It's the podcasting service that I use. Anchor.fm is the easiest way to make a podcast, and there are many different reasons why, but foremost is it's free. So you don't need to go out and buy a whole bunch of equipment. If you have a phone or a computer and a microphone, you can record and edit your podcast right on your phone or computer. So that's one major benefit, as well as the fact that they'll distribute your podcast to several different podcasting sites for you. Not only can your podcast be found on Anchor, it can also be found on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast as well. So you don't have to worry about going to all those different sites and setting yourself up. They'll do it for you. You can also make some money on your podcast. Say you have a podcast that only 5 people listen to on a regular basis. They don't limit you on how many subscribers you have to have in order to be able to make a little bit of change for your podcast to keep yourself going. So pretty much everything you need to start a podcast can be found at Anchor.fm. So go download the app either in the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, or go to Anchor.fm to get started. And I guarantee you, it'll make things so much easier for you, like it has for me. And we're back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to the Hall Space Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ritch Hall, here with my lovely and capable co-host,
Nicole Hall.
And we are talking about the year 2020 and wrapping up some things that happened this year, discussing, reviewing.
Yeah.
And we just went back in time a little bit and talked about our adventures of our early 20s.
Yeah. We talked about our early 20s, and then we talked about, before that, we talked about all of the
celebrity deaths
that we've lost. Yeah.
We were talking about, you mentioned Will Smith, and I meant to actually say something about Will Smith because Will Smith had the highest grossing movie this year.
Well, his movie made it into the theaters.
Yeah, because it came out in January.
It came out in January.
Everything went all to pot.
Before they closed all of that.
And because it was Will Smith, and because of the year we've had.
Yeah.
At $206 million domestic, $424 million overall, it was the highest grossing American movie of 2020.
Wow. Now, here's what I'll say about that. Bad Boys for Life was a great movie.
We loved it.
I loved it.
Enjoyed it. If you're a fan of the Bad Boys franchise, it was a good time.
You will love it, and it's not like...
much deeper than the first two.
It was much deeper than the first two.
Level.
It was. And it was pretty deep. And honestly, when I saw that people saw it before us, and they're like, oh yeah, there could be another Bad Boys for Life. I was like, I don't know. But when you watch it, you can see that happening.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'll watch it. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just like there are a number of movies that have multiples that, if it's a Bourne movie, like Bourne Supremacy.
Yeah, she loves all the Jason Bourne movies.
Bourne Identity.
Even though I have issues with the Bourne movies. If nothing else, it's the idea that, the Bourne movies are a little bit up their own butt. Like.
What do you mean?
Well, it's like America spent all this time and money creating now I just realized.
Yeah.
What the metaphor is. Like, it's about the fact that we spend so much time and money on, like, war when we barely have enemies worth putting that much time and money into.
They don't
which is definitely very, very relevant right now. Yeah. Like, we spend billions of dollars on this industrial war machine.
And they're not even. And the song is not even about you.
We're fighting ourselves more than we're fighting any real enemy out there.
No, that's facts.
And that's always been the frustration with Jason Bourne because I was raised in the Cold War era where, we at least had the commies to be mad at all the time.
Yeah.
And, there was good and bad, and America was good, and the bad was anybody who wasn't us that wanted to end our way of life. And Jason Bourne never has an enemy outside a U.S. agency, usually the agency that created him.
It's an internal U.S.
It's
struggle.
always, and so that's why it was always like a snake eating its own tail, because it's like, well, what's the point of putting all this money investing in this guy, this amnesiac killing machine, when there's nothing for him to do but fight other amnesiac killing machines that we created? Like, I would like to think
he wasn't supposed to get amnesia.
That's true. Well, no, they did erase his personality originally.
They did. That
can't be ignored. Why would you need to do that if, the movies themselves, I think only the first movie ever dealt with an external threat. Like that first assassination he was supposed to have committed.
Right.
And then after that, it was always somebody's coming to get Jason Bourne for being Jason Bourne.
For being him, and they wanted to shut him down
because
they wanted to shut Treadstone down.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it was always like, it's fun. I enjoy the movies for what they are, but I'm always like, oh, come on. Can there at least be a threat that is going on outside of Jason Bourne? And then Jason Bourne has to deal with Treadstone and the threat, but that genuinely would not be the universe the movies have created. And I think that was in part because I read the books, and in the books, there was a guy, I can't remember what the character's name was. Jason Bourne was created to kill this guy who was also a super spy. And so he had to stop Treadstone and kill the super spy. And in the end, remnants of Treadstone always were out there, but he always got his man. And so
I always
sort of wanted to twist it back into there's a threat outside of this, and the U.S. sucks because we create these weapons and don't know what to do with them.
They don't know how to reel them in.
But it is if you think about the U.S. as a military complex, it is a pretty good metaphor for how we waste billions of dollars on some things that we might not even need. We might be our own enemy.
We can't get COVID relief, but you will definitely spend how many millions on
billions, ma'am. Billions on more trucks,
more
and
training and tanks and equipment and training.
More guns than butter, ma'am. More guns than butter. So, So the Bourne Identity movies is ones that she can watch a lot. She watches Mission Impossible movies.
I like the Mission Impossible.
She loves her some
I love the Matrix movies.
Yes, the Matrix movies.
The John Wick movies.
Yes.
Those are always great.
Always great popcorn fun. And the Avengers movies and pretty much most of the Marvel movies.
All of them. Yeah. No, I dig all of that.
Although you haven't done a review of the Marvel movies in a while. You got off them for a while there.
I did.
It's okay. It was over. You were overdoing it a little bit.
I was. I mean, for a very long time, I was watching all of the movies sort of back to back every weekend because they're fun to watch. And I kind of know what's happening in them, but they're pretty good. Pretty good.
Speaking of, Avengers Endgame was the biggest grossing movie last year at 858 million. So think about how big of a difference that is to go from $858 million for Avengers Endgame to Bad Boys for Life making $206 million.
Wow.
And that being the highest grossing movie of this year.
Wow.
And what does that mean for the entertainment movie industry?
What does that mean for the economy of the movie theaters?
That means that movie theaters. And what's interesting to me is, I've after listening to dozens of my episodes, I've noticed I say, that's interesting. You know what's interesting to me? What's interesting to me? So next season, hopefully I'll come up with better things to say.
We did say interestingly enough.
You know what's interesting? Anyway.
I just changed to fascinating. Boom.
There you go. Thesaurus.com is going to help us out next season.
We'll get it together.
One of the things that I find remarkable, as in I'm going to remark on it, is that, there's a lot of industries that are going under right now, and that, it's a matter of how do we save these industries?
Yeah.
Do we give them money or do we give the people money? I've posted quite a few things on my Facebooks and Instagrams about how just giving people money will save a lot of industries, because if you give the money to us at the bottom, we just spend it. We do not hoard it in the Swiss bank accounts. We do not take it overseas so that it cannot be taxed. We drop it right back into the American economy, because that's what real Americans do.
We're not the ones doing Swiss bank accounts. Let's be very clear. Okay.
Right.
We're the ones going to the stores and the restaurants and the movie
American
theaters.
We will spend it.
We will
immediately, because that's what we do.
Spend it.
We need a new TV for the basement, and people will spend that money on a new TV.
And we will absolutely buy another TV, because I miss having a TV in the basement.
Oh.
But you know what? I mean, on everything, we can't take it with us anyway.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's poor people talk.
I have an appreciation for, money, I guess.
You don't. I live with you.
I have appreciation for it.
Really. You appreciate the comfort that having a certain amount of money can provide you.
I do.
But money itself is useless to you.
I mean, can it get me what I want to eat?
Yeah.
Okay. Can it take me to the beach?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't care about anything else.
Maybe if you eat a little less of it or drink a little less of it, you can get to the beach much quicker. But you could have gone to the beach on your wine budget for COVID.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
Can I just note that Ritch Nicole is not a drinker at all?
I mean, I think it's
so
he doesn't extensively.
He doesn't
on the channel.
Okay. I need to say it again, because he's like, I can't believe I don't say anything about your root beer.
I haven't been buying a lot of root beer. In part because I need to cut back on sugar, because I hit it too hard during this COVID-19.
And the root beer stand is closed.
I mean, you could always get, they have a wall of root beer at Jungle Gyms, ma'am. If I wanted my root beer.
You wanted your root beer,
I
get it.
I can make it happen. But I'm trying to stick with water, because I don't need any more calories, because I need way too many comfort calories during the quarantine.
Comfort calories.
And I need to be more active, and the COVID killed my lungs, so I need to get myself back into a place where I can walk around like a normal person and not get winded, and put off some of this gut I've been building up. Just some of this middle. So a lot of industries rising and falling, like Quibi, where people put a lot of money into things. Businesses, restaurants have been struggling. Movie theaters struggling. A lot of the entertainment sector, retail sector struggling.
Anything that requires a lot of humans to be in one place,
which is what we built
together.
This economy around.
Right.
Was humans being in one place together.
Well, enjoying the same thing, right? Concerts are a bunch of humans together enjoying the same music. Movie theaters, a bunch of humans in the same theater enjoying the same movie. All of that is, based on a specific human experience that now we are unable to have due to COVID. We can have it in smaller numbers, but it's just not quite the same, And so hopefully with the vaccine, we'll figure all of that out, and we can go back to doing all of these sort of human interactive things, because humans need interaction.
Yep.
I mean, even our dog that we got, T'Challa, needs
So much interaction.
He needs a lot of interaction. He needs human interaction with us.
Yeah, I mean, that's why dogs, like humans, they're social creatures.
They're social creatures, just like we're social creatures. And so the idea that, you know, you're with the people that you love to hang out with, that's a big deal, you know, and meeting new people, that's also exciting. So, yeah, I mean, it'd be great to see 2021 sort of turn around and become a year where not only we appreciate what we currently have, because, you know, it could always be worse, right?
Yeah.
But to be able to step into this sort of new era where we're like, yes, we enjoy these human interactions, but we're also going to take certain precautions. You know, one of the things that Bridget said was that if the schools were cleaning their toys, and like, so they go through the schools that are doing in-person learning, they do an immense amount of cleaning and wiping and all this kind of stuff. And her girls haven't been sick, which is unlike our situation with all three of our kids, where they went to preschool, they went to kindergarten, and they got all the stuffs, you know. And that's not to say that you won't still get all the stuffs, but when you're more vigilant about, you know, cleaning certain areas, it becomes important. And her girls have been fine because they've been going to in school, and then they shut it down, and, you know, now they're doing online, but, you know.
Yeah. I think it'll end up being a lot of different changes in how we clean up and
how we accommodate just viruses in general, right?
Right. How thoughtful we are. I mean, there for some people, I think masks may never go away.
Yeah.
In public spaces.
Yeah.
And that some of these precautions we're always going to take, like maybe we'll never queue up in line as close to each other again. I mean, it's very doubtful that unless the antitrust legislation goes through, Amazon's never going to stop being a behemoth.
Yeah.
That it has become during this quarantine by being the aggregator that can provide everyone with a variety of resources. So there's some things that are just never going back to a normal.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I was joking with my mom about yesterday was that thanks to the vaccine, like one of my frustrations with the vaccine is they're going to want me to go straight back to work and seeing people again. And I do not want to. At this point, it's like, oh, do I have to do that? Like, going from I have to be in the room with people, I have to meet them and talk to them, to do I have to go back to working with people?
I found a way to do that where I don't have to do
be
that.
In the same room with people.
Yeah.
I don't have to ever breathe in their germs again.
Listen.
Because I have gotten sick from clients before.
You've gotten...
come to my office with the flu, and I got the flu within a matter of days.
Yeah.
And if I
had infected everybody else here.
Then I could have just worn a mask, or, you know, normally it's like when they're sick, you say, get out of here.
Yeah.
But they didn't tell me till the end of the session, like, I had the flu. I had the flu as in past tense. I just found out like yesterday, but I feel better. No. Why did you wait a whole hour to tell me that?
No, I think
open with that.
Start there. No, I remember when I would go to see Dr. Thomas, he would normally start out with a handshake and a hug, and he's like, I can't do that. I keep getting sick, and I completely, understood it. Like, hey, you can't hug all of your patients. How many patients do you see in a day?
6, 7 to 8.
Right. And how many of them have something that you bring home to your wife and your kids, right? Who's autoimmune and your mom's it's
it's
always a
in my
thing.
life I can't get sick. So
I mean, and
can't be taking these risks for the people anymore. So the idea that they're going to want me to get back in a room with people,
it's like,
my job is offering the vaccine.
It is,
which I intend to take.
Absolutely.
So you asked me about the vaccine, and I was like, I don't know, I don't want to go in depth with it, but hey. Take the vaccine if you can.
Get it if you can, man.
The reason it came out so fast is because we've spent years, and at this point, a decade uncovering
research,
DNA and learning how viruses work.
Yep.
And we've worked with COVID and SARS and COVID,
which
before.
is COVID similar.
So we have some ideas about how to, defeat certain things.
Yeah.
And so all that research came to bear because there was a genuinely global crisis that forced a lot of people to work really hard to come up with a vaccine. So, trust science for once. I mean, if you trust your microwave to work every time, you can probably, without knowing exactly how it works, you don't know what's in your oatmeal, but
there's a reason why measles and chicken pox and all of these polio, There's a reason.
that used to bring civilization to its knees
Yeah.
are no longer a thing.
Yeah.
And, so trust that maybe this vaccine will work. And if it doesn't, I'll eat my hat. But we'll see. So, yeah. Yeah. We were not supposed to talk that much about COVID. As we said at the beginning of the episode, we've already ruined that. But once again, how do you talk about 2020 and review it
Without
if you
talking
don't
about
mention COVID and now the miracle of the vaccine by the end of the year?
Yeah.
And all these things that are changing so rapidly. I am a little frustrated with all those politicians who spent some time denying the vaccine,
denying that COVID was real.
Marco Rubio's,
but then
the Lindsey
took the
Grahams,
vaccine.
but then jumped in front of the line to get the vaccine.
Sit all the way down.
If it wasn't real, then why did you need?
Then
that?
why are you taking it?
Right.
Sit down and shut up.
Right.
Oh no, you're gonna take it, right?
Go take it before some people. Like you should
take it before the frontline people.
I'll take it after every nurse has taken it, and every doctor. But no.
No, you're
y'all got that
it.
though. Y'all got that. So go ahead. Let me go ahead and get that first shot real quick.
Right.
Before just let me. If you got one for me, why would I turn it down?
I mean, I'll take it.
Why would I turn it down?
Because maybe
I told all my
nurse,
followers that this didn't even exist, and I think it's a hoax for months and months on end.
But now I want you to give it to me.
Almost 350,000 Americans have died. I'm sorry, we're at 326, I think, today.
That's a lot.
Americans have died this year alone from this thing that just started in March.
Right.
And we're at an all-time high when it comes to death. But
like actual people.
I was just telling people what I thought was what's the most annoying to me, and I'm going to say this and then I would love to move on, is I've been alive long enough, and I said this to your uncle as a joke, but I've been alive long enough to know that there are certain white people who get away with things and never get any retribution because America has a weird memory for things like this. So, your McConnells and your Rubios and your Grahams, they have these very long careers where they may not have helped anyone that looked like me, and they may have been bad for a variety of people at my level.
For everybody.
Or everybody, an argument could be made, but they won't have any sort of real consequence.
Retribution,
for that behavior, and they'll just get to be, they'll just get to move on in their lives and be rich and well off and
just
never really face the music.
People.
Like, the president guy who all of his life has skirted responsibility and accountability. That's what happens when you're born in a certain bracket. And those of us at the bottom know that, but we like to choose our guy and follow him to the end.
Oh yeah, so you don't have to you don't have to go to war.
No.
You don't have to
but you can be
poor. You don't have to
Yeah.
No.
So, moving on. 2020, the year of the murder hornets.
That went away pretty fast.
They're technically still out there. We just don't have time. There's been so much stuff happening this year that there's no time to stop and worry about things.
Well, I'm not going outside to get stung by them.
Right. 2020, the year of Tiger King. All of us were stuck at home, and we had to watch the Tiger King documentary.
So stop. Let me say something about the Tiger King, because Richie Vaughn doesn't watch murder documentaries. At all.
Nope. I passively fall asleep to them because
I'm watching them. But Tiger King, you brought to me, and you're like, no, this is so crazy. You have to see this, and it was.
It was insane.
It was insane.
It was insane. It was an insane story.
Carol Baskin and this guy's still in jail, and her first husband, they haven't found his body.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know Tiger King, if you want to,
Tiger King.
They probably do.
Passive understanding.
They may have some passive understanding, but if you're looking for
Tiger King's still in jail.
He absolutely still in.
We're doing some really bad stuff. Like he's got some.
No. He murdered some tigers on his land, and No, he went to jail.
But he's a big personality.
He is a big personality, and so is Carol Baskin, and they had this big fight, and they weren't even in the same state. It was a thing. If you Google it, you'll fall down this.
Yeah, or watch Tiger King documentary on Netflix.
Netflix
was responsible for giving us most of our entertainment this year.
They were. Thank you, Netflix.
Thank you, Netflix.
We pay you money. So,
yeah.
I mean,
So a lot of TV
you're welcome.
I watched this year were definitely Netflix.
Netflix related.
Yeah. So a lot of the action movies like The Old Guard and Jingle Jangle, Uncorked.
Jingle Jangle was beautiful.
The Five Bloods.
Yeah.
Palm Springs was on Hulu. 40-Year-Old Version, which I liked. Ava. So a lot of watching Netflix for some pretty good television this year.
It's I'd like to shout out Russian Doll and Dead
Russian
to
Doll
Me.
was last year, but
Was it last year? Okay,
Yeah.
but the second season should be coming out, but it's not out yet.
Who knows? COVID
Oh my gosh,
has changed everybody's slate for the years.
But the second season of Dead
What
to
was
Me
Charm
is
City
coming out.
Kings on? Charm City Kings, I think.
Charm City Kings
Prime.
was
Or-
produced by Will and Jada Smith.
Was it on? I don't think it was on Netflix.
It was not on Netflix. I
We
think
watched
it
that on-
was.
I don't know. That's the thing about having all of the streaming services.
We have Hulu and
what did I
Netflix
watch
and Amazon.
Hamilton on? Hamilton had to be Disney Plus.
Hamilton was definitely Disney Plus.
That was a big deal when that dropped.
Such a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Charm City Kings, I feel like was HBO, which we have through Hulu.
Yeah,
We have
just
HBO
watched
Max.
Soul.
We
on
watched
Disney
Soul.
Plus. We
This is
liked
on
it.
this. Oh, it's such a cute movie.
Soul was a good movie.
It was good. I mean,
It made
they,
you think a lot about what's your purpose? What's your
what's your
life
spark?
about?
Yeah.
It's interesting. Okay, I said it again. But like a lot of people liked it because it is, it asks these very existential questions.
Yeah.
As a person who, and when he talks about going into the flow where you kind of step out of life for a bit and you're in the zone, like I get that when I write. So it was like, oh wow, no, I get a version of that.
When I first watched the movie, it was me, Mom, and Daniel, and he was playing music. He was like, and then I got into the zone.
Yeah.
And no, it was Victoria. And she was like, is that what it's like? I was like, when I'm playing a song and I feel it in my soul, that's exactly what it's like. You get into this zone where you're just feeling the music. You're not even, it's not however many beats per measure.
Yeah.
It's so much more organic, and it's just, it's a beautiful moment that you're, it's great because you're in this moment where you feel like you're doing your best creative work.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so that was what was very cool.
Interestingly, that Pixar has essentially weaponized all the tropes of just a basic story. Like it's always a journey of some kind that two characters have to go on. Usually an older character and a young, naive character.
Yeah.
Who has an opportunity to learn.
They sort of come to this middle ground. Where they learn from each other.
They learn from each other.
Yeah.
They usually learn from each other.
Well,
from how their conflicting ideologies are just gonna hold them back.
Right. And I think that's what's great about a lot of the Pixar movies. You were watching a review earlier where it said they do a great job of creating movies that adults could take their children to that they don't want to
check completely out of. Yeah.
There have been so many movies that we've taken the kids to or that we're watching with them. We're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But Soul was good.
And what's funny is, I feel like this one was a little bit more because we tried to watch it again with the kids.
We did. It was the
actually
second or the third time. Yeah.
For the first time and actually sitting down to watch it. And Daniel was not as interested. And he
wasn't in it the second time.
He basically kept saying the beats like, oh, now they're going to do this.
Yeah.
And that was mostly because he was annoyed at the time and he was
because he had seen the whole movie the first time.
Yeah.
I saw parts of it the first time.
Says he wasn't as attached to it.
No, he was not.
And so that's unfortunate. But I mean, I watched it, and once again, as with the last few Pixar movies where they're asking these sort of deep philosophical questions like what are feelings and how do we understand them?
Yeah.
It does an interesting job of like what's the meaning of life without ever tapping into any religious whatsoever.
No.
Like it
what's your
sidesteps
spark?
religion.
No. What are you meant to do, right?
Well, not even like purpose, but like how do you live was more, I think, was the question. Because I think
how do you live, but how do you live with a purpose, right?
I think because they said that at the very end, that was one of the don't take this away from it, because you'll often think your purpose is this one thing,
and it may not
living
be.
Is all the things, and that there can be within any moment of your existence some level
of things.
Like life is all the things. Like there's that moment in the movie where she's like, we got on the train and he had this handful of things that he put on the piano
tokens
of experiences. And that life is the experiences. You can think, well, my purpose is what gives me life, but it's a reality. It's living. And having a purpose.
It's
helps
appreciating everything that is around you. I will give you that.
And as humans, we're horrible at that.
We are very bad at that.
We get very trapped in our miseries.
We do. And one of the things that we talked about, because Bridget and Melanie, her best friend, watched it as well, it was the idea that it was kind of like watching life through a kid's eyes, right? You know, they see these things on the trees. They don't know what they are, but they're fascinated by them. They're stopping to smell the flowers, essentially. And, you know, we've smelt the flowers enough by the time you get to be 50 or 40.
We're often thinking in terms of purpose rather than stopping to just enjoy the moment. I often have to tell myself that with the kids. Like, they'll want to do something. And I'll be like, I mean, that's not that big a deal. But for them, they've never done it before.
For them, it's a big idea.
And so they got to get the opportunity to do it. And that's one of the reasons that during the summer, I try to take them to so many different experiences and things like puppet shows and all these things. It's like, I don't care about this that much. But I know they might get something out of it.
But they absorb that.
And then there are the times where you like bring your kids to the precipice of something you think is awesome. And they're like, meh.
Right. And so there were so many things in that movie there, you know, he's showing her and she's like, meh.
But then you let her do something she wants to do. Like she just, you know, she wants to stand in a grate when the wind comes up under.
Oh, yeah. Or she's on the subway. And like there are so many simpler things, you know. So, I mean, honestly, it could be, you know, a testimony to parenting, right? Where you think your kids are going to enjoy X, Y, and Z, but they enjoy A, B, and C instead. All of it is observing the things around them and appreciating it. And, you know, doing that is important, and recognizing that what you enjoy or what they're going to enjoy could be different.
Because they're different creatures.
On
this planet for their own reasons.
They've got their own agendas. We've got 3 kids and a dog and 2 cats, and they all have their own.
Everybody has their own agendas.
Everybody has their own agendas.
They're rarely on the agenda I want to be on.
They're almost never on my agenda.
Right.
Okay, but you know.
Yeah, so, you know, I recommend the movie Soul, and, you know, it can lead to some really interesting conversations about life and existence and purpose, and, you know.
One of the things Mel said was like, you know, Bridget and I are trying to get our lives. It's like, right. We're like, you know, what do you do every day? What is fulfilling you? What makes you happy? What sparks the joy in your soul? That's all that kind of stuff is, you know.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like the movie, what is something that you do regularly that sparks the joy in your soul? And I know that particularly for me, especially during the COVID times, of course, is what does spark the joy, right? What does give me energy, continues to give me that sort of elation that you look for. Because every day is not going to be, you know, rainbows and sunshine, but there are parts of every day that you can really look at and say, yeah, that was really good. That made me happy, or that made someone else happy. I think, you know, for a lot of us, especially if you have kids, when something gives them joy that you were able to get them to, you know, it gives you some happiness there, and being able to provide it for them, you know, it's good stuff. Yeah. And so I know during these times it's harder to find those things, but being mindful of that and trying to seek out those things will be kind of what keeps you afloat.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's hard, right? And it's sometimes it's cold and rainy and dark and all these other kind of things that can sort of cover what you believe to be joyful things. But, you know, when you search really hard, you know, regularly, you can really see these small moments that give you just sort of happiness, you know, give the people around you happiness. So I would say for people that struggle like I do, you know, look for those things and live in those moments, you know. I mean,
absolutely.
It's you know, I stepped outside today and the sun was out and I was like, it was warm.
Once again, you can kind of forget. Like, one of the things that I think the movie did well was he was looking for this big break.
Yeah.
But, you know,
he got it.
But he had always been, you know, there's this point in the movie where he's looking at these moments of his life and he's like, well, my life never amounted to anything. And there was a lot of other things going on in those moments that could have made them good memories.
Yeah.
And even what was funny is Daniel said, no, those could have been good memories. Yeah. But because he was looking at them through the lens of what he wanted for himself. Like, sometimes we talk about purpose and goals and we think that's all that there is to be you. but
you're
a lot of
missing
times,
all of the stuff on the wayside, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And as a person who works a lot with 20-somethings, I often find myself there looking for the next milestone. And I often have to tell them that. But once you're on the other side of that, you're still you. Like, you still need to be
You're still you.
sure of who you are as a
Yeah.
person. What do you want for yourself?
Yeah.
That isn't just the once I get my degree, once I get this
Right.
job, once
Right.
I get married. It's like, no.
Yeah.
You need to be okay with you and want
In
better
all
for
of the
yourself.
mundane moments, in the
And be
everyday.
able to just appreciate
Yeah.
the living moment to moment and to be a human being, not a
Yeah.
human doing. Like, how
Yeah.
can you just learn to be?
Yeah. Now, this is the biggest thing that I could ever say that is something that every human could learn. And I don't know how many other therapists I saw. Maybe Esther Perel said it was like, no, it wasn't Esther Perel. It was Paula. She's a pastor, but we don't follow her anymore. But there are things that you can see in the daily that give you joy, that you appreciate. And those are the things that you try to focus on, because if when you're in your 20s, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to graduate. I'm going to get married. I'm going to have kids. Okay, what happens after you do?
What happens after that?
Yeah, you still have to be married. You still have these kids.
Right.
They're not toddlers anymore being real cute. Now they're sassy teenagers. What do you do now? Right? You live in that moment.
And oftentimes we're chasing what we think will bring us joy.
Right. As opposed to absorbing what is happening to you right now.
In the now.
Yeah.
And that in the now, you can find joy in the now. If you really look at it and not just look for, well, I'll feel better then or when.
No.
I mean, and that's for, there are some people who are in, toxic situations, dysfunctional situations, destructive situations.
Yeah, this advice is
and
not
that's
for
not
those
to say that, you should not
situations.
have hope and you should not dwell on
No.
hope because that's often what's getting you through those situations.
Right.
But for many people, their current situation doesn't really have anything bad in it. It's just they've built up expectations for what's on the other side of the fence.
Right, as opposed to observing what's around them right now.
As opposed to just looking at and being able to appreciate what's going on right now. And for many people, even in this COVID situation, there's a lot that is still okay. You've still got food in the fridge.
Right.
If you've still got, clothes on your back.
You're still living in a house. You still got heat. You got electricity.
Yep. You're doing better than a lot of people.
Everyone's still healthy. You haven't lost anybody.
And that's not me saying get over the grief or
but
the
recognize
sadness.
what you do have.
You can still mourn.
As opposed to what you don't have.
But don't make your life about the mourning and about the chase when there could be some things for you to appreciate in the now.
Yeah.
And so learning how to do that is where the real peace is.
Yeah, that is definitely where the real peace is. And maybe that's where, and I always have to remind myself of this as well, maybe that's where God is speaking to you, right? Where it's like, okay, this is you. This is what you're meant to do. This is where you're meant to be. Absorb this moment because it prepares you for the next moment.
Right.
And so I think when you can sort of try to take that approach, and again, I'm preaching to the choir, I'm preaching to myself. I mean, it's one of those things where when you do that, it makes it less hard.
Yeah.
I like to say, and it helps you to sort of appreciate the moment that you're in, and I say this to myself all the time now. I've got you, I've got the kids, I got my mom, I got a dog and 2 cats. One day it's just gonna be me and you getting on each other's nerves, and I'm gonna be like, man, remember when the kids were so messy and we would have to tell them to clean their room every Sunday night? One day that'll happen, right? And I'm gonna miss those moments. I figure that'll happen eventually.
Yeah. I mean,
today is not that day.
This is a much harder situation because it is definitely.
Yeah.
We did not get married under the idea that we would genuinely be around each other every minute of the day.
This was not, we know.
This was not in the cards. The way society was set up when you and I entered into this contract, there were way different contextual circumstances. And this has boiled everything down to it's just me, you, and these kids.
In this house.
And,
I don't mind you and these kids in this house. I don't.
It'd be a little easier if we left.
Yeah.
More often and did our own thing.
Yes. Yes.
Because in America, we've learned to be independent creatures. I mean, I've gotten really used to them being around each other a lot, and they've actually gotten used to doing their own thing sometimes.
They do.
I mean,
they do.
Thank God for Roblox, even though I have my issues with it.
Yeah,
it
but
does
they're,
give them
I mean,
something to do, and they
and
learn
it's
to play
one
together
thing that,
sometimes. And,
I was going to say, it's the one thing that connects all three of them.
yeah. They do stuff
Victoria gets
together.
in on with the boys, and they're like, okay, we're great. And, tonight you'll go pick up the kids, and they'll come home and they'll play Roblox together, and we won't see them until tomorrow morning. It's great.
Because they know the rules and all that.
Yeah.
I take the devices away from them. And then
Right.
Sometimes the boys get into a little bit of squabble.
They do.
They don't have much else to do.
They don't. They don't. And they need to actually go to sleep because they're tired. Yeah. But that's...
Usually they get in a fight, cry, and that's what makes them go to sleep.
And then they pass out. Yeah. But that's part of it, right? That's part of the experience. That's part of the way this works.
That's the way we've learned to be in 2020.
Yeah.
If you think about it, right? Like that's just what we've come to. We've got a way different routine than the end of last year.
We do.
Way different circumstance, and we've gotten through it.
We've adjusted accordingly, right?
We've been blessed through it.
Yeah, we have. It's still hard.
Oh my God.
But it's still hard. But it's still, okay, we've figured this part of it out. That's the whole idea, right?
Yeah.
Where you figure out this part out, and then you get to the next part. And then you figure that part out. I have no misgivings about, new parts and having to figure those out too. That's just kind of my expectations. And I think when you have realistic expectations and you know that there are going to be these stumbling blocks that you get around that helps you sort of get through the moment and persevere, So I mean, I need Jesus to carry me a couple times, like the footprints. Hey,
don't we all?
Pick me up, man.
We needed him this year for sure.
I can't walk right now, But
as we look forward to 2021, we hope that things will continue to change, continue to improve.
Our mouth to God's ears.
And that, in the end, nothing but good things.
Yeah.
But we know that there will be some trials.
There will some,
Yeah. At the end of every episode, when the edit is working right, there's supposed to be the house hall words, which
we
rise
brilliantly.
And one of the things that, I don't know if I've talked about on the show before, is what that means is a recognition of the fact that we, as the collective we, as a family, as a group, and the fact that I'm from a much larger family that I know, has my back and supports me even when I'm at my lowest, and that anything can be done as a collective. The collective can move mountains in a way that the individual cannot.
Absolutely.
Rise is the idea that we are going to see trials and struggles, but that we can triumph over them by putting our mind on our collective will on overcoming the trials and tribulations of life to have triumph. And then brilliantly is a recognition that ascension is often dazzling. It's often brilliant when it gets pulled off, but also that if you keep your wits about you, you will be able to overcome. So, we rise brilliantly to me means that we as the collective can overcome any measure of doubt, uncertainty, of dysfunction. And that we can do it with brilliance and grace. And so as we look at 2020, this is definitely a year of perseverance.
Absolutely.
Most people have faced some of the worst challenges they ever thought they would face. There's a lot more uncertainty on the horizon. There's a lot more stuff that we still just don't know how it's going to work out.
But we've made it this far.
But if you've made it this far, you've made it. You are still 100% successful at being you to the best of your ability every day. So
and you have an opportunity to continue to do even better and to conquer more things. Right.
So my wish for everybody is that we all continue to rise brilliantly. We all continue to overcome and achieve, because it's not going to necessarily get easier. But you'll be equipped to handle it. 20th being the day that everything flips, the switch flips, but it's not a flip switch kind of situation. It took us, the better part of 11 months? How long have we been in this? I don't know.
Since March.
Since March, so 10 months?
10 months at least.
9 months at least.
Yeah.
It took 9 months to get to the situation to where we are now. It's going to take quite a while to get out.
Another 9 months to get out,
And we have the time. And if you have the time, make the best of the time that you have. I've struggled with hobbies in the last few months just because the mundanity of everything has made it just difficult to want to be interested in things. But I mean, I still continue to find hobbies, take a class,
find things,
read books,
interest you.
Get off the internet, get off the Facebooks and whatnot, because that's not good for you. And
I got my trashy novels that I
right.
blow through
You feel a little better
sometimes.
when you read a book than you do online.
Yeah.
So try some things, do some things, continue to rise. We are in this with you. We love you, each and every one of you.
We support you.
We support you.
We appreciate the listens.
We appreciate all our listeners. Thank you so much for spending some time with us this year.
We do.
For, 23 episodes at this point.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. We did not know that we'd make it this far. We didn't know that we were going to be listened to, 800, 900 times that we've been listened to.
So
that's
awesome.
great.
Yeah.
And so we thank you.
Yeah.
Everybody for sticking with us, rocking with us.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. And with that, we're going to bring it to a close.
You know what the music means.
You know what the music means. Our time is up.
I say good day, sir.
I say good day.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. Come on, 2021. The Hall Space Podcast is brought to you by Hall Productions, LLC. Show notes and credits can be found at our webpage, thehallspacepodcast.wordpress.com. Any questions, comments, or concerns can be sent to us at thehallspacepodcast@gmail.com. The show is written by Daggerpin Davis. Music is curated by DJ Cabal. The show is produced by Chuck Jones and recorded at Slash and Trash Studios. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you all have a good week. House Hall. We rise brilliantly.